Hello, friends. We are live on the New African Conversation, and I invite you to join in and to come and share this moment with us. It's going to be a moment of great value for us, for all of us as African, but also as people of the world, because we want to extend our conversation not only to the people of Africa, but also to the rest of the world. So I invite you to come in and to tell us exactly where you are watching from so that we can have an idea of where people are watching us from. And today I have a special guest for you. I will bring him on as soon as he is available. And guys, I tell you, we're gonna have a show that will be just the one that you've never seen before. Especially the timing is so perfect right now, considering what's going on in the world right now. It would be good for us to have this powerful conversation, and I really invite you to invite your friend to share the link, and just to be a part of this important moment. So I'm just give you another minute or so for you to join in, and then we're going to start and bring in a guest. Wow, I can't wait. I just can't wait because I'm so excited. I couldn't wait for this moment. In fact, the whole night I was thinking about this show, and I told myself, "Oh boy, God is so good because He does things in such a timely manner." Because we're going through some difficult times right now. Our hearts are actually troubled. Our hearts are troubled because the world is going in a way that nobody is comfortable with. And this has to do to a great extent to the leadership that you have in the different countries, because leaders can make a difference. Leaders are the one who determine the way the country goes. And when people don't see that in their leaders, they see people who have a heart open to people, a heart of service, a heart of compassion. Obviously, we come to situations where some people are unfortunately losing their lives, and this is not something that we want. And today, the conversation will be very much focused on that, and to see how we can bring that spirit of peace in us, how we can bring people to examine their heart and start thinking in terms of how do I love my neighbor? How do I see my neighbor? Do I see the color of the skin or do I see the heart? Because we all have the same blood. You know, when we all bleed, the blood has the same color. You won't tell the difference between a white person blood, a black person blood. We have the same, we all the same. So how can we move from seeing the color of the skin into seeing now the heart of people? So today is going to be so powerful. I can't wait when I bring my guest, guys. Let me just bring him in because he's there, he's available, and I'm going to bring him in right now. How are you, Dr. Rivers? I'm so glad to have you on the show today.
Dr. Charles Tourette, you are the new voice. Man, I'm honored to be on your amazing show. And I want to thank you for some of the guests you've had on. Man, you've enlightened the world. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm really humbled to hear that. And there's something that God is leading me to do. And I know that we all have, like you say yourself, there's 7.8 billion of us. And each one of us has a role to play. Each one of us is responsible for knowing what their mission is, what their purpose is, what their contribution is. In other words, what God has led them to do for them to change the world, because we can all change the world. So today we have you on the show. We can't wait to learn from you, to hear your wisdom, to hear what you got to share with the people today, because you're the man of experience. You've been all over the place. You've been honored in so many respects. And today, we're so happy to have you on the show. And I want you to say a few things. I want to say a few things about yourself, because I know it's difficult to talk about yourself, but I know that you are the president and founder of our Change Nation, a powerful organization, well known around the world. And then something that you bring about this organization is to bring back the lost art of honor. Wow, that's so powerful. And you're going to tell us a little bit about it. Who is Dr. Clyde Rivers?
Man, you know, I'm someone that if you let God into your life, people, he can do above and beyond what you can ask or imagine. I'm humbled in my life that God found me, and because of his grace, he's allowed me to discover my assignment in life, which is to help 7.8 billion people in the world find out that they're created for something great.
Wow. We can't wait to hear from you, Dr. Clyde Rivers. And I'm so honored to have met you. I mean, almost going on to 2 years now that we've known each
Yeah.
other. And I'm so glad that I did that. We now that I bumped into you, and I'm so glad to learn from you, because you are not only my coach, my mentor, but also a friend. And I really appreciate you. I'm so glad to have you on your show. And I say welcome to the New African Conversation.
Thank you, sir.
You know, this is a special show. Why? Because across the world, and today again this morning I was watching a video that really hurt me deeply, because I saw this guy being shot by the police. He was on a wheelchair. He couldn't raise his arm, before the police asked him to raise his arm. He couldn't do it. 6 cops surrounding him, shooting him. You tell yourself, why was that necessary? So my heart is really troubled today, and I want us to discuss, about the situation of the world. Why is the world? Why are we going that way? What is happening? And I know that the Bible. Wait, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles Penn.
And I want to quote the Bible that said, the Bible said in Romans 2:10, it says, God will give glory and honor and peace for every individual that does good. And when I see today, I can see that there's so many people are just going not the ways of God. Why is the disconnect? Where is it, Dr. Rivers?
Dr. Charles, you know what the issue is systems that are built by man and not God. Let me tell you. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday, and I said, there's a principle in the scriptures that says what you sow, you reap. Now, when you have institutions that have corruption, you can't help but have a harvest of corruption back, because what they sow, they'll reap. And then, Dr. Charles, there's a principle of a seed. When you sow one seed, the harvest is always greater than the one seed. So when you're sowing evil, the harvest is a tornado.
Wow, that's really crazy. And the question we can ask as women and men of God, people who believe in God, people who have the fear of God, how do you see us? What is the role that you see us play as individuals to improve the situation, to change things, to make a difference?
Dr. Charles, I really believe God spoke to me yesterday morning. He said, man's tradition makes the word of God of no effect. Wow. And I can tell you, as we pray and God doesn't hear us, we have to check our traditions and see if we're harboring hate, strife, division, racism, hatred. If you're harboring these things in your heart, God can't hear your prayer. So what I believe we have to do, we have to really look at our hearts and say, God, we're asking you to solve these problems, and they're not being solved. So we have to check ourselves and see if we're the one that's the actual cog in the line. And when we do that, God said, if you turn from your wicked ways, pray, I will heal your land. So the people that know God, we have to check our hearts.
Wow, this is so powerful. But at the same time, there's a question we can ask ourselves. Not everybody is a Christian. Not everybody has the same perception of God that we have. Some people use the word of God to commit crime. Some people use the word of God to hurt other people. So how can we come to the place where we can all start seeing things in the same manner, in terms of one God, a God of love? Love, not just as per human beings' definition, but as per God's definition.
Yes, it's interesting that you say that. There are what I call kingdom principles from the kingdom of God, and these are principles that every major religion in the world has a golden rule, has a royal law. It has a love your neighbor as yourself, treat others the way you wish to be treated. And I think one of the challenges is we have to tell people, live that tenet in your faith. Live that tenet out in your faith. You don't have to follow my faith. It's in yours. So if we could get this principle, people, live this principle in your faith.
Hmm. Yeah. And this is really, you know, my heart just was so troubled. I was so hurt. I was almost in tears because when you see someone on the ground, someone who cannot do anything to defend themselves, when you see this family, a white family, like six, seven of them surrounding this young black guy who just happened to be walking in the neighborhood, and they come there with a dog. They attack the guy, the dog's attacking the guy, and the neighbors are just from the window screaming, God, they're going to kill him, they're going to kill him. And people are just going on and on and on. You tell yourself, what is that evil spirit that people can have in them to actually commit such crime, I would say? What is it? What is happening to it? Could it be something to do with fear? Because fear is one thing that can bring people to do things that they can't even understand themselves when they look back. Could it be fear? Is there an element of fear there, Dr. Rivers?
I really believe it is. And man, I have to fault the media. I have to fault the media because of the only pictures they show. It's like about Africa. I said, why don't you? I tell people to go with me. Don't show the negative pictures only. There's great things, but our media tends to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
So if you've only seen black people in a negative light your whole life growing up, you see them as criminals, gang members, all this stuff. As you see them in your neighborhood, that's the only perception you have if you've never had a relationship with an African or African American. So now the image in your mind is this guy is that. And
Oh,
then that fear comes in and they feel like they have to do justice because of wrong imagery shot about a culture of people.
whew. Wow. As an African, as a black person, I'm very having so much as see my brothers and sisters living in their own country, but still feeling that they don't belong there. That must be really painful. And this is why Africa today is the place, I think that's the place for all Africans. For every African, for every black person to identify themselves as a member of the African community. For us to see how we can come together and be a force again. And I know there's communities who managed to do that. They were oppressed. Like look at the Jews, for example. They were oppressed. But today, people are respecting the Jews because after the genocide, after they were killed, after they were put in those chambers by the Nazis, they learned that they needed to be strong and united and together to make a difference. And they made that difference. And today, people don't look them the same way anymore. People see Jews are very rich, very prosperous
Yeah.
people because they managed to create that image themselves. They didn't expect, they didn't wait for anybody to do it for them. This is what us black people, we have to do, we must do. We need to come together today to see how can we create a community of black people that are going to be respected, they're going to be looked with a lot of respect. How can we do that? We need to come to that point. That's what unity is all about.
That's very true. And you know what? One of the big things, Dr. Charles, I was speaking with a leader of an African nation, and I said, "What's the challenge?" He says, "We don't own our own media. The issue is this: never let your enemy tell your story.
Yeah.
We have to create medias that are producing the right image of and we have the power to do that with like this actually shows an example of another conversation. Let me tell you this here. Prior to this show, I've never seen a show with a new African conversation. This is the first of its kind, bringing another narrative. And this is why I'm going, look, I mean, that idea you had was a brilliant idea. And I'm saying we need more shows. We need more social media presence. And we need it's you can take the colonial system, you can move the people out, but if you leave the infrastructure, it still functions under the same policy and the same thing. And you know what? Let me be candid. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Wow.
Africa needs to not take money from people that are going to bind them. That's a friend of mine called. He goes, "What's the problem?" I said, "Quit taking money. Quit taking money with stipulations that tie you up. You got the money, but the people are tied up by the regulation and everything that came with how to manage the money. So you're accepting, but you're accepting wealth that's tying you up."
Exactly. That's really terrible. That's putting yourself in a box where you find yourself trapped and you can't free yourself from it. So we need to self-determine. We have to come to the point where, as African, as Black people, we come together to put in place a platform that will help us be the people we want to be, how we want to be, how we want to manage ourselves, how do you want to interact with each other. So that new order we're going to put in place has to come from us. We have to think about it. We have to sit together.
Yes.
And we have to communicate between ourselves in a way that we understand each other. That's why I love that notion of dialogue, that the book that you wrote with, you co-authored with Dr. Ruben Weiss, yes, where you talk about dialogue, which is a new paradigm in conversation. We need to bring that on the table and people to start talking in terms of how can we understand each other better? How can we, as African, as Black people, even though we are on the African continent and the diaspora with different cultures, different backgrounds, how can we still come together in a brotherhood manner and work together? How can we start seeing people's heart and not people's color?
Wow.
How can we do that?
You know, Dr. Charles, you are like me. I'm a number one. I'm a number one. When I get with anyone in the world, they're no better than me, and I'm no better than them. I think we have to change the image of when you're taught to be second class. Sometimes you automatically go for the bottom seat. Well, walk in as a person made in the image of God, and no one's better than you, nor are you better than anyone else, and walk directly to the top seat. You see, we have a mentality. There's a mentality that we're not number ones, but I defy that everywhere I go. I'm made in the image of God. I'm made in the image and likeness of God. I'm not made in the image and likeness of God. So when I walk into a room, the wisdom of God I have, who I am, is valuable enough, and I belong in the room, and I don't take a backseat to anyone.
Exactly. And also, I think I want to take even to another level, because being number one is very important, but you have to know that you are unique.
Ooh.
And that uniqueness of yours makes you stand out. And you are responsible for showing to the world that you are unique. What you bring on the table, nobody else can bring it. That's why you were saying some time back that for 7.8 people in the case of Africa, 1.2 billion people, each one of us has a role to play. Each one of us is unique in their contribution to the Africa that we want. So we have to have that leadership in us to understand it and to make it happen. Until we do that, it will not take place. That's why people like you and myself, we have to raise the awareness of people on what they're capable of doing on how they can how they can showcase the uniqueness. What do you think
Yeah,
about
man.
that?
Dr. Charles, the whole key to life is the right information. The right information. I always question universities that don't have business ownership courses. Of course, they have business management. If I create an institution, I'd want to teach you how to manage, not own. So we got to teach our people that a business management degree is only a start. Now, how do you own your own? So ownership is not synonymous with donorship.
Hmm.
Ownership is not synonymous with donorship. So the donor is the real owner. So we will not see the world change, our continents change, until we get to the ownership positions. Because watch this here. When you create this is why I tell people, this is why what I love about you so much, Dr. Charles, you've created your own stage. The New Africa, that's your stage. Now hear this, you dictate the philosophy, you dictate who gets on the stage, you dictate what comes out of the stage. I change nations. I dictate who gets on stage, I dictate the stage. So people need to see people like us in control of our own stage.
That's so powerful. And this is the sort of leadership that we want. This is why I created the Greatness Trilogy, which is a concept that brings people to realize that they are leaders in their own sphere of influence. We all have a responsibility to play. We all have a role to play. In other words, to manifest the leadership in us. That's why we need to have what is our God attribution in this world. It takes leadership to do that. And of course, for that, you need to bring in that spiritual dimension in everything that we do, because alive with that spirituality, without the connection with a higher power, is definitely going to nowhere. So we need to see how we can bring that leadership level and also spiritual level into the way we act in society, how we interact with people, how we relate to other people.
Dr. Charles, you are your trilogy is the key for Africa, and I'm saying it because the areas you cover basically empowers the individual to their greatness. You see, now watch this here. There's a difference between my greatness and institutional greatness. Institutional greatness comes from someone telling you, good job. Your greatness comes from what God told you to do.
Exactly.
Because there's one you're custom designed from heaven to solve a problem. Now that's your greatness. Institutional greatness says, do it this way, and we'll call you a valedictorian. Do it this way. So that either means, I tell people, when you're the valedictorian, it means you're the smartest person or the best copy. You did exactly what people told you to do so well that they've now formed you to their image, and they tell you that your image is now valid.
Wow.
I'm my own valedictorian. I validate myself.
This is so amazing, because this just reminds me of the work that the president of Rwanda did. A small country of Africa where people kill each other on the basis of, because this is a Tutsi, this is a Hutu. And one person came, that comes to our conversation that says one person can make a difference. One person came and said, no more of that. I don't want you to see yourself in terms of your tribe you belong to. I want you to see as a citizen of Rwanda, for you to start thinking in terms of what can I contribute to the country. It takes one person to do that. And something that I see also is that for the people who get shot and killed for whatever reason, those people who kill them are depriving the world of the knowledge that person could have brought into the equation. So we're just depriving the world of some valuable resources, because everybody has a role to play. As we kill someone, I will prevent someone from expressing the best version of themselves. We're preventing the world from benefiting from that guy's knowledge. What do you think, Dr. Rios?
You hit the nail on the head. See, See, Dr. Charles, sometimes people don't look from God's perspective. See, they have an actual national view, their country, a continent view of their continent. But what is the creator of the world's view of the world? God has 7.8 billion people that all have answers to solve problems in the world because God doesn't have spare parts. So 7.8 billion people are all called to run off God's design, which isn't religious.
Yeah.
It's spiritual. It's not religious.
Yeah.
So now, if I take upon myself to kill someone, I just killed a contribution that 7.8 billion people. Example, what if a guy was called to build the actual airplane and somebody killed him? Now we're not flying. So it is not our job to dictate how big or how small the contribution is. It's our job to make sure everybody lives.
Exactly. I fully agree with you. And I think that we need to take as a lesson, and especially for leaders, those people who are in a position of influence, they have to understand that whatever they say can have an impact in the way people behave. Because when the leader decides, okay, listen, hey, I want my country to be the reflection of who I am, of the values that I stand for, people will follow. If at the same time the people see a certain way of thinking of the leader of the country, they will do exactly the same thing. So you're going to exacerbate hatred in the country based on what you think or what you tell your people, how people receive the message that you bring to them. So we as leaders, have to be very careful in the way we communicate with people. That's why I love that notion of dialogue, where people have to start applying effective communication in the way they pass on the message.
Dr. Man, what you're saying is so powerful. I tell people, never let people dehumanize humanity. Never let them dehumanize humanity. 7.8 billion number ones in the world. 7.8 billion number ones in the world. Number one for someone. And you see, leadership, and we are seeing a whole lot in the world fail today. You know why? If you're not led by God, your institutions will crumble. So we need God's leadership in the world. And Dr. Charles, if you look at the simple principles of the Bible, they're alive today. This what it says. It says, the royal law says, love your neighbor as yourself, you live under liberty. It says, if you mistreat your neighbor, you live under transgression. Well, look at what happened to Mr. Floyd. Mr. Floyd was killed. So transgression happened. I go, people, it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Institutions, if you mistreat people, you are going to inherit the storm. So we can draw all these answers back to biblical principles. Treat people how you want to be treated. You live under liberty. Exactly. Mistreat people, you live under chaos. And hear this. At some point, it's a chaos that you can't manage. You can't manage. It's too big.
Yep.
So now you have to call to God and start to put his principles in. That's why it says, seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before our God.
Oof. That is so powerful, Dr. Rivers. And as the man of influence that you are, you met so many leaders. You went to Africa, different countries in Africa. You met different leaders. What is the message you bring to those leaders especially in terms of civility? What is the message you bring to those leaders for them to apply that to their fellow citizens, to apply it in the way they lead the countries? But this is the sort of message we want to hear. We want civility to become something that it should be included in the country's constitution. What do you think of that?
I think what I tell them is if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to be revered in your country, treat others the way you want to be treated. Create policies and systems that have equity for all. If you mistreat the people, you have a biblical infraction against God, not a political one against a party. And God will visit you in ways that you don't like when you mistreat his creation. So think before you have policies that are unjust. Think, because it's a God infraction, not a political one. You have touched the apple of God's eyes. You have damaged people that he's created. You have not given them opportunities. And now you must deal with an angry God.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. No, we have here Yako Econ Wilson that says, indeed, he fully agrees with you. And people are watching, and I want just to call them again to give their comment, to give their opinion, to ask questions. Dr. Rivers is here to answer your question. This is a great opportunity to have this man on the show. He's a very busy guy who accepted to be on the New African Conversation. Take this opportunity to ask all the questions that you have, and I'm sure he's going to be very happy to answer them. So, Dr. River, I just want to continue this conversation and to ask you a question about how do you see the future of Africa? Because as you know, the African continent is embarking into, I would call a reconstruction, a transformational process where we as Africans want to build the Africa we want. We want to have an African which story is going to be based on our own words, for us, and by us. How do you see the future of Africa?
I think Africa's future is great. I think Africa is great. But Dr. Charles, I want to tell you what needs to happen. Africa has to create its own content. The problem is when you listen to other people's content, they form you to their image. The African institutions need to create their own content, teach people their content, and not content that's irrelevant. This is why on my chats, what I do in the morning, I have to be relevant now. I can't be a sounding gong or I lose influence. Your actual show is so revolutionary. The New Africa Conversation. What? Wait, hang on. What's that? So you are giving new data. You are giving different information. And what happens? Africa must create its own content and educate the world to Africa, and not having the best people leave and come and get my mind and go back and bring my mind to the continent.
And I have a question that day from Yoko that said, what specific action, let me bring it on the screen, what specific action can we take, doctor? How can we mobilize our communities to action for our communities and translate that to the broader African diaspora?
You know, what I think Africa really needs to do, the wealthiest continent with natural resources in the world, we need to own what's under the ground, not just what's on top of it. Many other people own the resources. A new conversation would have to be how to love ourselves. And here this sounds philosophical. If you don't love yourself, you can never love anything else. Africa has been talked out of loving itself and wanting to be someone else. Most countries I go to, the visa line to come to Europe or Western countries is full. People will give their citizenship up to be from another country. I wouldn't do that as an American. So there has to be patriotism brought to the continent. Patriotism, because I'm just straight truth. If most people in Africa could get a visa to come to another country, they would leave. That's a problem, because they love the ground you're on. Build it. Does that make sense, Dr. Charles?
It really does. And just to go, along with you, I think that there needs to be a reconciliation between Africans and the motherland. The
Oh
African
man.
continent, African, the heaven on earth continent that she is, has been
Woo.
crying for so long, calling her children to come to wipe her tears.
Wow.
And those children that just don't hearing the motherland crying and calling on them. And I'm talking right now to our leaders in Africa to say, listen, you have a key role to play. You are accountable for the situation in Africa. You have to stand your ground and say, I'm an African and I want to fight for my land. No matter what happened, I have to stand my ground and say, this is my continent, and I determine what I want based on my own criteria. And this is not happening, Dr. Rivers.
Because your conversation has just opened it up. The new conversation, this is what I love about you, Doc. Doc, you are creating such a pathway for new dialogue, for a new conversation. And what happens is a new conversation is, hey, everyone loves their home country. I mean, man, I love America. I love my country. And you see, and then Africa needs to really, as you said, have that reconciliation to come home and be a part of. And you know what? And I love Africa because I'm an African American. So the continent of Africa is where I was taken from and bought in. So what happens is we have to create that, because let me tell you something, Dr. Charles. People don't know what they don't know. So we have to create what they don't know, allow them to see what they don't know, so they can be what they never thought they could be.
That's so powerful, Dr. Rivers, because we need to have the platform. We need to have whatever it takes to bring this message of civility, this message of leadership, this message of spirituality, not of religion, but spirituality that touches into people's values.
See, that's the conversation. If you leave it in religion, it'll kill itself. It's spirituality. See, Jesus he said, I'm the way to the kingdom, not the way to religion.
No.
You got to see the kingdom. It's kingdom. It's kingdom. And then Africa, hear this. One of the original kingdom continents, that's God's structure.
Yeah.
That's God's structure is kingdoms.
Yeah.
He said, pray my kingdom come. So Africa is the foundation of kings. Kings. Wow. So I'm like, guys, let's get back to the kingdom. Let's look at these kings. Are you hearing me? The kings, that's God's model.
Exactly. That's why I keep saying that the history of Africa did not start with slavery or colonization. The history of Africa started way before that, because we had a kingdom, we had a kings and queens, and Africa was once a powerful continent. So this is where we need to go back to learn from that history that really put Africa in the forefront, where Africa was seen as a power. We need to bring that knowledge back into today's reality in order for us to implement whatever we need to do to make Africa great again. And we can do that. We can just use colonization, slavery, as something an experience we're going to learn from.
Yes.
But not something where we stop and that's the end of the road. No, we have to learn it take it as an experience and to grow from there and to bring about the Africa that we want.
That's the brilliant mind you have. Just look at, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tourette is a brilliant man. Look at what he said. Take it as education and build on it. And you actually can't live there. You got to go beyond. And this is what I love about the new African conversation. You see, this is why now I'm using my title of Sir Clyde Rivers. Why? That's royal. Sir is a part of royalty. That's why I'm using that title now. They come, I'm Dr. Ambassador. No, Sir Clyde Rivers, that's royalty.
That's so powerful. And because we are kings and queens, we have to behave accordingly as such. Because when you're king, when you're queen, when you're part of royalty, you need to actually express it in the way you behave. It's not you going to say, I am, yes, but people will see that in you. No matter what you do, people will see it. It will show when in the way people see you. And that's why we want to come to the point where we become respectful people, people who, I would say, respectable people, people who can stand in front of people and say, yes, I respect this man because of his values, because of what the way he carries himself. We have to be proud people, not a sort of pride that just like that brings people down, but you said we know who we are. We know that we are unique, and we want the world to recognize that uniqueness that we have, because that uniqueness that we exemplify, that we demonstrate, determines the way we do everything. And that's where we need to arrive at to become the beautiful Black people that we are. And we're capable of doing it. We are capable of doing it.
Man, Doc, I just had an idea. We need to create another word other than diaspora. Let me explain. We need to create a concept for a person that's from Africa, that's abroad, but still loves Africa, and goes. But we got to create a different definition. We got to call them something great to where we say, look at here, we're from Africa, we're here, we still love our continent. Not we left in desperation. You know, so we got to create a new concept for diaspora that loves Africa.
Exactly. We need to do that. This is so powerful. You know why? Because your heart should never leave Africa. This is what they said. The new Africa that we want is for African, those born in Africa, but also for those who have Africa born in them. You see that? So this is what we want. Because as long as your heart doesn't leave Africa, I live in Canada today, but my heart is in Africa. That's why the new African conversation was created, because my heart is still in Africa. I know that there's a role for me to play, and I can play that role through this channel, through this platform. So no matter where you are in the world, you can still do something for the land that you love, for the land that you cherish. It's exactly what invites people to do. Never to say, oh, those Africans are there, that's the problem. No, it is a problem. If one African is not happy, I'm not happy. The rest of Africa is unhappy. So we need to come together and do something now. Now.
Man, I love it, because let me tell you what's powerful, Dr. Charles. Definitions. So basically, people in the world live under labels. Go to school. He's a slow learner. He's smart in math. He's a good athlete. That one is a criminal. This one is a king. So we have to unwrap labels and bring people back to their design. The continent of Africa has been wrapped in wrong labels, and no one's unwrapping the labels.
Wow. And we have to be the ones to unwrap the labels.
Why? Because hear this, Doc, because nobody that doesn't know the history can't.
Yeah.
You're talking about kings and this prior to slavery. I'm like, what? All we know is what we're taught. So you are carrying a new, what about back to royalty? That's the new diaspora that loves Africa. Back to royalty.
Back to royalty. That would be just so powerful, because diaspora sounds like like desperate. Like
it sounds like you're desperate to leave. You had to disperse. I'm like, diaspora. Who's desperate? We're not desperate. We are actual royalty coming to impact the world with our royalty, showing you that our royalty is from another place, but our royalty can embrace your royalty.
Exactly. But at the same time, this royalty, this role that we want to play as African has to be a role that's inclusive, to know that we are part of the world. When we talk about creating the new Africa, it's not like we're closing ourselves and then kicking everybody else out. We know that the world is a big village, and as Africa become prosperous, it's going to be good for the rest of the world. So we're not African, don't have that history of hurting other people.
Wow.
We don't have that history. This is not a part of who we are, because Africa is a spiritual continent where we value other people. And maybe because we valued other people so much, maybe that's why slavery and colonization was such an easy process for the people who came into the continent, because we're so welcoming. But Africa will and remain a spiritual continent, a welcoming country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why Africa will be one of the greatest continents it is, because it's never enslaved any other culture. As a continent, Africa's never enslaved, never colonized anyone else.
Yeah.
Never. Now, what you need to start the new conversation ambassadors. These are royalty to royalty.
Yeah.
Because watch this here. Let me tell you, Doctor, one of the things that I know never wins, fighting the old without a better idea, you never win. You stay, you basically stay stuck in somebody else's narrative, and I'm going, no. Dr. Tourette has a new narrative. What? No, it's a new conversation. What's that? You got to watch.
Yeah.
It's new. You're not gonna. Somebody asked me, "Who does he sound like?" I said, "That's a great question. Him."
Exactly. Because I'm unique.
That's exactly.
It. You know, I'm not just number one, but I'm unique, because the message that I have, nobody can bring it across the way I bring it across. And this is for me. That's why, if I love the when Dr. Ruben West said that it's important to have big dreams, because when you have big dreams, you know that you have nothing to fear. To the contrary, you bring in the resources. People like you will come on this platform to go and speak to the world, to give you that platform. So I don't have nothing to worry, because the way I bring this platform together, the way I manage it, it's going to be unique to me. Nobody will do it the same way. They will do it a different way. It will not be the way I do it.
Wow.
So there's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about.
And you're the only place I can come and talk about the new Africa. You create the stage. I'm like, man, you have to come. I'm like, yeah, I'll come on. Yeah. Because it gives me the chance to talk about it new. See, every other show is coined about what they want to do. And yours is new conversation. I'm like, man, I love this. So you don't know how big, and never despise small beginnings. You don't know how big this show will get. And let me tell you why. I believe God has created you for this. You are the excellence that needs to man this. Other people may have the concept, but not the excellence. So you are strong in Canada. You're strong in French, in France, and you're strong in Africa. You are the perfect trilogy.
Wow. It's so powerful to that, Max. So I'm really honored to hear that, and I want to bring in a question from Yoko. We said, what action steps, guy? It's solution time. It's planning time. We know our problem, and I fully agree with him. We know our problem. That's why on this platform, and person, that's the way I see things. I don't want to base my conversation on just going on and on about the problems. We know the problems. We know what we need to do. We know we have internal problems in Africa. We know that problems are coming from the outside as well. But we know that we can bring solutions. And that's what we want to talk on this stuff. That's what you're doing today. That's why we want to bring in civility. That's why we want to bring in dialogue, a new way of communicating, an effective way of communicating. We want a new leadership. People who have a heart of service for the people that is supposed to be serving. Not to be served, but to serve people. That's what we want. Those are the solutions we want to see. We're not talking about violence. We're just talking about not just a exchange of ideas. People have to have constructive ideas for the continent. So this is why a new conversation has to take place. People have to come, they examine their heart, like we said before at the beginning of the show, Examine your heart. What is it that you're going to put on the table? Like today, I was watching a powerful show for my sister from Australia, Mireille. She had Dr. Ruben West on the show, and she was talking about by the time you leave this planet Earth, don't leave anything on the table. And I thought that was so powerful. Use, like Dr. West said, use all the talents given to you by God. And by the time you go before your creator, you say, yes, my Lord, I did everything. I left everything there. I left everything on earth. And I left a legacy. That's what we want to hear from people. To be proud and say, yes, I left a legacy. I know that, like Apostle Paul said, mission accomplished. Now I can go to my eternal life.
Man, that what you said is so powerful. And to help answer the one lady's question is this: create new content, create positive African content, create positive self-image content, and put it into the social media. Their smartphones are their mentors. And whatever content they get on the smartphone forms them to the image. So we got to get good, beautiful African content into their smartphone systems. This is what is necessary. We have to use their brand new mentor is their technology. And if we don't put the right content in, we will never change it. If we put the right content, we can change it in one generation.
I fully agree with you. So we should use what we have. I mean, technology is such a blessing today because, like right now, I'm speaking. I can speak to the whole world. I have the power to do it. So why don't you use that power that I have? And I believe that's a God-given power. Why don't I use that power to change people for the better? For people, bring people to the point where they can express the best version of themselves. Through like you said, the content that I bring in. This is a great opportunity. This is a time for change. The time is now. When I said now is N.O.W. No opportunity wasted now. I'm saying.
See, doctor, you're the right one for this, man. I'm telling you, nobody buys your content; they buy the person.
Yeah.
No one buys civility. They buy Dr. Rivers. No one bought civil rights. They bought Dr. King. No one bought apartheid. They bought Mandela. No one will buy the new Africa. They'll buy Charles, the new Africa. You are the new Africa.
Thank you so much. And I will make sure that for the time that God has given me to be on this space that we call Earth, to do whatever I can to always, raise the African flag high. The flag has to be risen high. And I will bring my contribution. I will do whatever I do to make it happen. And a person like you, Dr. Rivers, you do it so well. You met so many leaders on the continent, and you touched the heart of those people. I had the opportunity to see all the posts on your Facebook page, what you do, the people that you met. And I hope we get the opportunity for us, you and me, to go and visit the beautiful continent, to visit the heaven on earth continent, which is Africa, and to see how we can make a difference in those different countries, and to see how we can do it, because I know we can do it. We have what it takes to do it. So let's just go and do it. Let's go do it.
Man, I'm with you. And people, what I want to say is this. Dr. West, great having him in. One of the great things we have, Dr. Charles, is no one competes with each other. Dr. West runs his lane. We stand behind him all the way. You run your lane. We stand behind you all the way. I do my lane. We stand behind all the way. And as people see this kind of a unity, they're saying, wait, how come Dr. West isn't fighting so-and-so? No, he's empowering. How come Charles isn't? How come Dr. Rivers is doing this? So we have to model a unity and understand when it's your turn to run, the whole institutions behind you. So you're not so one of the things Africa needs to see leadership modeled that actually lifts each other high and not have the big thing. Are you the big man? Are you the big man? No, you're the big man. No, we're the big men. And if we can change that big man concept to make sure everyone's a big man, then we can change the philosophy that's keeping things held back.
And this is biblical, Dr. Rivers. This is biblical. Jesus told it to his disciples when he said, who was the greatest among us? First of all, be a servant to others, and then you get greatness. That's what it is all about. It's not about you thinking because you're heading a country, you are the one ruling the country, that you can step over everybody else.
Yes.
No, you can't do that. You're here there as a servant. And as you serve people, God will lift you up because God wants you to make a difference in the life of each individual on this planet based on the attributes that he gave you. That's why I talked about your God attribution based on what God gave you for you to make a difference in the life of people around you. It's a duty to do it. It's our obligation to do it because we'll be accountable in the eyes of God when we stand before him and when he tells, okay, what did you do, my son? You have to be able to give account of what you did. So important.
And you know what? Why don't you add God attribution into your trilogy as a vocabulary?
That's something that will be included onto the spiritual dimension of my greatest trilogy. You know, like I said, no, the greatest trilogy is not something that's, like box and close and that's it. No, this is a concept that will evolve with time. The people like you bringing their contribution, because I said that this is something I've started, but it doesn't mean that I'll be the one who's going to end it. Just bringing in people who see the things the same way I do in terms of loving each other, having a heart of service, to see how they can make a difference in people's lives using that concept, which is a concept that will evolve with time. I don't even know how far it's going to go, but I just know that it's going to go places. When I put it in place, I was telling myself, God, this is huge. How am I going to do it? And today, I see the light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter, and I have a clear understanding of what God is calling me to do.
And watch this here. I just saw a name pop on the screen, Dr. Tracy Ward. You need to have her on your show. She has created, man, please ask her to be on your. She has a phenomenal revelation, Dr. Tracy Ward. You have to have her on the New African. She's amazing.
I mean, if she's heard the message, I'm sure she has because she's watching live. I'd love to have her. We had a chance to exchange via email, and I'd be very, very delighted and very pleased to have on the show. Those are the people that I'm looking for. That's the people I want to have on this platform. People who can speak beyond their own boundaries. People who can start speaking to the world and send that message of hope. So that message that will help people start believing themselves again, especially on the African continent. And I love to see that it's going to be a woman, so to talk not only to men, but also to women of Africa to see what is the message. How can those women become the queens that they are? What is it? What message they need to receive? And I think she'll be the right person to do that. She about her on my show.
She is the right one to help them reset and start now. I mean, man, perfect.
We got an agreement. She said, "I'd be honored." So you see
that? T. Ward in the house.
This is fantastic. And then Dr. Ruben said, "Okay, wow. I mean, just because you start, it doesn't mean you have to end it." That's so true. Powerful. Because you start something, because if you want to be the one to start and end it, that's being selfish.
Wow.
You want to bring something that's gonna be like you pass the baton to a next person, say you continue the race.
Wow.
And take it as far as you can take it. I prepared the ground for you so that you can just step on solid ground and continue the race and do your part. bring in your own color, always keeping in mind that you're there to serve people, but make it the best you can possibly make it. That's what it is all about. That's what it is all about. Yeah. And that we have a message we have from Gabriel who said, Hola, buenos dias, desde Mexico, una fuerte abrazo. Okay, thank you so much, Gabriel. She just said, I will translate. Hello, good day. I'm watching from Mexico. And I gave you big kisses to all of you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. We take it. We take it. And then we have Yako that says here, he says, I will create a new code of conduct rules, specific action steps Black communities can do to build them up in the image of the historical greatness. Any ideas? Well, we just have to join. Okay, you have the man on the show right now. This is Dr. Clyde Rivers, the creator of the leader of world civility, the one who created the Change Nations. And I think that's the person should connect with me. And then we can see how we can do, because the more we are, the better, because we want all forces to come together.
Yes.
Make it happen, to work on this great project that we have, and I'd love if we wanted to have one of the, the head of states to be on my show. I'd love that.
Oh, yeah. Yes. We can make that happen. Let me, yes, of course.
That's fantastic. So we've been together almost an hour, 60 minutes, just past the hour now. So we are going to close the show, but before we do that, Dr. Rivers, I want you to say a word to the world, to Africa. Tell them something about, how you see the future. How do you see them getting involved into that process? How they can make a difference, each person in their own sphere of influence, to see what they can do as individuals to exemplify their uniqueness in this process.
While you get your education, never get talked out of the education of you. While you're getting education, God has created you for something that will live longer than the skill set you get from college. So make sure you understand the most important education you can get is about you, and that's unique. And when you understand it from God, your faith is customized, and He will bring to you what you need, and you will never have to beg anyone else, because what God orders, He pays for.
God is powerful. God is good all the time. And I thank you, Dr. Rivers, for your presence, for your show, for what you shared with us, because you're a man that people can actually follow, because you're a good example to the rest of us. And I'm so glad to have met you. I'm so glad to learn from you. And I'm sure that coming together, we'll be able to impact the world in a positive way, in a constructive way. And I can't wait for us to make it happen. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I can't wait to have you on the show again next. Thank you.
Whenever you need me, man, I'll come. Anytime you call, I'm here, my friend. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So guys, you heard Dr. Rivers, you heard him, and I'm so glad to have had the opportunity to share this hour with him. He gave us some powerful nuggets, and it's up to us as African, as citizens of the world, to do whatever it takes for us to bring this message to the people out there, to make a difference in their lives, and to just change the world. Thank you so much, all. I'm going to close now, and I can't wait to see you on the next show. It's going to be next Wednesday. I don't know who my guest is going to be here. It's going to be a surprise for you, but there's going to be someone next Wednesday. Take care, and may God bless you all. Bye.